Good morning, everyone. Today is November 12th, 2024, and Shandina Cruz Morris, am going to call to order our Division of Family and Children Services Advisory Board meeting. So, greetings, and we are excited as we are going into our holiday season. And so, with that, I am going to start with attendance. So, if your region is called, if you would just please respond present. Region number 1, Pam Clayton, region number 1.
Present.
Thank you. Good morning. Region number 2, Fran Chastain.
Present.
Region number 3, Randall Hendrick.
She is on her way in.
Okay, so we will hold for her. Region number 4, Belinda Davis.
Present.
Region number 5, Anna Good. Present. Region number 8, Belva Dorsey. Region number 9, Travis Nibley.
Present.
Region number 10, Tommy Hill. Region number 11, Lacey Gillis Tippins. Region number 12, Allie Christensen. Region number 13, Meredith Holt. Region number 14, Shandina Morris, present. At-large member Janice Vaness.
Present.
Thank you. At-large member Jennifer Schneifel.
Shimpo. Present.
And at-large member Jeff Marr. At-large member Judge Virgil Postley.
Present.
And at-large member Leslie Reese.
Present.
And at this time, I would just like to take a moment to congratulate and welcome our new board members, which are Pam Clayton, Belinda Davis, and Leslie Reese. So thank you all for joining. We're excited to have you all with us. And so we are looking forward with all of the wonderful works. Now, at this time, do we have a quorum? I believe we have quorum.
We do.
Okay, so we have quorum, and everyone has with you within your packet, and you should have, if you are attending virtually, you should have received a DFCS State Advisory Board packet with the minutes as well as the agenda. So, couple of housekeeping matters. Please state your name when you are making a seconding of a motion so it can be included in the minutes. And today's meeting agenda have been distributed for everyone. So are there any corrections to those minutes, and is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as read. That's Travis Nibley, Region 9.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Virgil Kelsey at large, second.
Thank you. So it has been moved and properly second that the meeting minutes for, this is for, okay. Let me go back and clear this up. So for the August 13th, 2024 meeting minutes, it has been moved and approved. It has been moved and properly seconded. So as such, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone that's opposed? Nope. So hearing no opposition, it is unanimously all in favor, and it is properly moved. So thank you all. And next, approval of the meeting agenda. And so all of you also have the meeting agenda in your packet. And so is there anyone, do we have anyone are there any motions for the approval of the meeting agenda for today?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written. Travis Newland, Region 9.
Thank you. And is there a second?
A second, Leslie Reese.
Thank you. So it has been moved and properly second for the meeting agenda for today. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed to the meeting agenda for today? Okay, so hearing none, the meeting agenda for today has been properly moved, second, and approved. So at this time, we will proceed with our agency reports. And so these reports, our agency reports, focus on projects and initiatives of each of these offices to help us better know and understand the committees and discussion. So with that, we have Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Child Welfare. Mr. Roberts, would you like to proceed?
I will, thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Great to be with you. My name is Lon Roberts. I'm the new Deputy Commissioner. I want to start telling you a little bit about myself. I'm a Georgia native, born and raised in Cobb County, lived briefly in Bartow County, and since 2000, I lived in Douglas County. I joined Georgia DFCS in February of 1997 in Floyd County as a case manager, and have since served in a variety of capacities, including as a social service supervisor, administrator, county director, field program specialist, regional director, deputy field operations director, and deputy division chief of staff, and most recently as the assistant deputy commissioner. So good to be here. I'm honored to be in this new role, and look forward to further serving DFCS and the families and children we serve, and working together arm in arm with the board as we go forward. So it's a pleasure to be here. Look forward to working with you. We'll start the slides off. We'll start off about Kinship Awareness Month. You said we'll look at some key events and initiatives currently taking place in the Department of Child Welfare. Each September, DHS celebrates Kinship Care Awareness Month. We use this time to honor the amazing families and individuals who step up to care for their children when their parents are unable to do so. When circumstances necessitate that our children or youth can no longer remain in the care of a parent, placing them with a relative or trusted family friend, referred to as kinship caregiver, is a preferred option. It certainly minimizes trauma and actually has a better reunification opportunity when you work with kin. Throughout the Kinship Awareness Month, we've extended assistance and support to our kinship caregivers through hosting webinars, providing toolkits with information, self-care, and additional resources to our kinship providers, and have participated in kinship celebrations statewide. Next, we'll talk about law enforcement meet and greets. Along with the school and medical, law enforcement are our greatest partners. To cultivate relationships between law enforcement agencies and child welfare staff is very important. The offices were required to host a law enforcement meet and greet before September 30th. I'm successfully completed. With our staff coordinating with law enforcement daily, these meet and greets are very important. And I know with COVID, we've had a lot of virtual whatnot. There's no substitute for face-to-face, and so having those face-to-face meetings with law enforcement, very important, and we're very successful. Talk about our permanency forum. In late August, we held a permanency forum in Augusta, and it was beautiful. I was able to be a part of that really, really beautiful time down there. First time ever we had child welfare with our SAG, Special Assistant Attorney General. So we met together, and we also broke out separately and discussed permanency and other efforts to better serve Georgia's children and families. It was just a great opportunity to collaborate. People talk together, plan. It's really, really great. And so we're eager to increase our permanency efforts in 2025. This was a great way to hear from some key players and also hear from one another, different regions and whatnot, learn from what we're doing across the states. That was a great opportunity, and we want to replicate this coming year. Adoption Awareness Month. During November, we're celebrating National Adoption Awareness Month, a time to celebrate the families formed through adoption, recognize the individuals, assist them in their journey, and promote the urgent need for adopted families and children and youth in care. So throughout, as we did with Kinship Month, throughout November, we'll celebrate the families who open their homes to adoption, and DHS and DFCS staff who assist in finalizing adoptions in a virtual celebration. We're also using our opportunity to recruit. So we're also out there joining community to spread awareness about the urgent need for adopted families, how much we really need them, value them, and how they can work forward to assist and finalize the adoptions, and how we can provide adoptive homes for siblings, youth with complex needs. So we're going to celebrate what's being done and recruit and kind of be the push to go further with adoption. So you should have received a save the date for National Adoption virtual celebration, November 20th from 10 to 11. So you should have that appointment and look forward to being a part of that as well. Again, we're eager to celebrate several families and staff members who've gone above and beyond to create forever families through adoption. And I hope you all will be able to join us virtually for the special event. Looking forward to it. I want to celebrate National Adoption Month also by touching on a few data points, just kind of briefly touch on some, present some. The first chart shows adoption data by month from September 2024 back to August 2022. You see January often is a little low, but you see in spring and early summer, you see a little spike there. So it's interesting data, but we see a nice, steady, consistent pattern with that data. So we probably could spend a whole morning dissecting it, but it shows a nice, consistent effort. So it's really neat to see that. And then the next chart shows adoption data by state fiscal year over the past 5 years. COVID 2020, we had a nice increase, but otherwise it's been pretty consistent with our adoption finalizations. Again, we always want to celebrate that and to recognize that. Each one's a very important. It's not just a number. Each one is a family behind each one of those data points. Also like to share a few additional adoption-related updates and initiatives. Since 2016, we've had the No Place Like Home calls, which is a regular check-in we do each month with the adoptions team and the county office to direct resources toward overcoming barriers, a lot of barrier busting, administrative tasks, missing paperwork. How can we move this family over the hurdle, get them past the finish line for adoption, using all resources available? So we do those calls each month. And we also, so we're barrier busting, we're also celebrating. Like I said, we never want to take adoption for granted. We want to celebrate each and every one. And so we celebrate those accomplishments by finding, when we find forever families for children. And these calls, we do that. And I think in this PowerPoint here, you have a few pictures of adoptions that were finalized this year. So again, we don't take any for granted. We celebrate them all and hope to have many more as we go into 2025. On November the 1st, we announced our new DFCS Permanency Director, Samantha Walker. Samantha was recently our DFCS Safety Director and the interim Permanency Director. So she knows the whole continuum, which is great. Her heart's certainly in adoptions and permanency, and we look forward to having her in this full-time role and working very closely with her. She's a great resource for us. Also want to highlight briefly our regional adoption teams that we've moved to. The regional approach versus just having county approach, having a regional approach increases the efficiency of overall case management. It utilizes team members considered subject matter experts. So we are able to draw from a bigger pool where you may have some certain strengths in different counties. You do regional, you can really leverage a lot of different strengths across the whole region. So that's very efficient, very effective. And we also formalize roles. So we have more people to draw from. You can formalize roles. This person's really good at this role. And we can begin to look at, once we move families towards permanency, sustaining those placements. So what's the record text, the post-adoption work, how can we draw who's got the best strengths regionally to make sure adoptions happen and are supported? So I think the regional adoption teams are very important and very excited about it. It's really about continuity because, county, you may have turnover, but regionally, you have more continuity as a team. You have specialization, you have a greater level of support. So with that, with this change, we anticipate increased adoption rates, improved productivity, and improvement in staff capacity to work with families, again, to work towards adoptions. A few more updates. We'll talk about the federal plans, the PIP, and we have the CFSR, the federal CFSR periodic reviews that Children's Bureau evaluates our child welfare systems. I do those. In August, we just finalized ours and had a report to us, highlighted areas for improvement in the state. And since then, we've been working actively to create a CFSR program improvement plan. You hear it's called PIP, you'll hear us refer to it as the program improvement plan. This is designed to create lasting and statewide change in the areas identified during the CFSR. Really, it's about quality, continuous improvement, how can we build on our success and always continue to get better. And so the PIP includes case reviews will be a part of it, track our performance and safety, permanency, and well-being. Also, we look at commitments by the DFCS, where we're going to commit to pilots with the courts committing to and system partners implement specific practice changes and a monitoring and evaluation plan to observe improvements. to children, up to our system, and to the outcomes of families. So it's really a joint effort. As a part of the PIP creation, we've held focus groups throughout September and October. We've had over 250 participants with DFCS staff, service providers, placement providers, foster care caregivers, CASAs, birth parents, and other stakeholders to get their feedback. And these groups were pivotal opportunities for us to collect honest, confidential feedback on how we operate and how we can improve. And we've taken all that and begun to work on a PIP. Teams have worked extremely hard to develop the PIP, which we'll submit to the Children's Bureau on November 18th. So certainly still in draft at this point, but we're trying to finalize and have it submitted on the 18th. Once submitted, they will review the plan, and probably around spring of 2025, we'll get the approval. And I look forward to come back and talk to you more about the PIP and what it entails once we get it submitted and approved. But that's on the horizon and more to come. And finally, we'll end on a festive note. Clark's Christmas Kids. I was at the store yesterday. Like you see Christmas up, right? So it's that time of year. And so on a festive note, Clark's Christmas Kids. For 34 years, DFCS has been partnered with Clark Howard, WSB Radio, Walmart, St. Vincent de Paul to provide gifts for children and youth in foster care. Clark's Christmas Kids underway. You should have, or if you haven't, let us know. We can get it to you. Received an email with information about our in-person shopping days and donation options. This year, we're hosting 3 in-person Walmart shopping days: Roswell on December 8th, Duluth on December 14th, and Marietta on December 15th. So hope you're able to attend one of these in-person shopping events. It's truly touching to be able to physically shop for a child's wish list. As a reminder, if you're planning to attend, please RSVP with Emma, and she'll track that and be able to greet you and coordinate with you. Clark's Christmas Kids is an opportunity to make Christmas brighter for Georgia's most vulnerable population, our children. I look forward to being able to share the program's success with you in a future board meeting. So with that, I appreciate your time and open to any questions, or just let you know I'm always here and always available to you and the board. So I thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions.
Certainly.
For the adoption data for this year, what did October look like, and what are you predicting for November or December?
I think our data ran through September, right, on
Right.
that chart. Yeah, I'll have to get that for you from the data team. They're real sticklers to make sure it's current and specific. So
Sure.
sometimes it takes a little while. Stuff isn't always entered timely, or you have some adjustments. So hopefully we'll have that for you. I can get that for you, but it won't be. They don't want to give it out unless they're really confident it's the accurate number. I don't want to change it, but we'll get that.
Just
for you.
wondering how we were looking compared to last year.
Yeah, I'll get that. I don't have
Okay.
it.
One other comment. I was just on my regional board meeting this past Friday, and one of the comments about Clark Christmas Kids, I just have a question about that.
Sure.
It's been a little challenging, and I recognize December is Christmas month, right?
Right.
So, but I feel like some of our counties are having a hard time. We're obviously Region 3 is much closer to Marietta, and that puts you December 15th, which is right before Christmas. So I feel like they're feeling like they have to find other options because it's so late and it's hard to get stuff in and get it out to everybody. I wanted to give that feedback in case there was a way to back up to where it's not a week and a half before Christmas, or makes it just a little bit more challenging for them to take advantage of.
They do. Yeah, I'll go back and talk and see what's out there. I'll discuss that with the coordinator.
Yeah.
Sure
Just
will.
an idea and I recognize it's December and it makes sense for people collecting gifts and all that, but it does make it harder for our actual child welfare workers to get gifts to people.
All right. Yes, duly noted. Thank you for sharing.
And I have a question. So, Deputy Commissioner Roberts, my question is, in terms of this board, what can we do moving forward for 2025 to bring more awareness or encourage more adoptions through DFCS? So what do you suggest that we do as a board to help and assist with that, to increase the numbers?
Well, I certainly would want to talk to Samantha Walker about our adoptions permanency coordinator, but our director. But I just think we always, like this earlier, want to celebrate. There's no shortage of. We want to celebrate and be vocal about celebrating, and then the recruiting, just sharing the need. I think that those are the 2 points I think are probably the most value added. There's a need. Just always talking about that every venue, every opportunity, the need, the linkage, and then when we do have it, to celebrate it and really highlight it, and even the board meeting celebrating that. I think that's really the key, is the need and then the celebration once it's done. like I said, we don't take it for granted, but every number, every adoption is a celebration, and we want to do that for everyone. But I'll talk to Samantha about that as well and see what she may have in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
I've got two questions. One is, I went through this for 20 or 30 years, so I've seen it go up and down. How long does it take to process an adoption after you've got termination of whatever kind? They used to, JHR at one point didn't put enough emphasis on that. There weren't enough people processing information. Does that flow pretty quickly now?
I think it's a little better than it was, but you're right. Sometimes it's you want juvenile court, you want superior court. Sometimes it's difficult, and some venues are a little more effective than others. But I'll make a note. I'll talk to our doctors.
No, it's just because I've seen that to be a problem over the years. I just wondered if it got any better.
I think it's improved, yes, sir. And I think the regional team has helped. But
Well, I'm sure that's a good step forward.
Yes, sir.
The other is Children's Bureau, up until 20, 30 years ago, didn't do a whole lot of anything about reviewing counties and states. But did they say much in this review about the relationship between state and local, for instance, the judges? Because they play a major role, and some of them don't have any idea what they're doing. I understand that. I teach judges, so I can say that quite well.
Yeah, the CFSR really looks at stakeholder engagement across the board, including judges. It looked at that. I can't recall off the top of my head what it's about judges, but I think it was recognized as a strength that are working with the judges.
Well, good. I know they can't give you something to improve because you can't make judges do much of anything. And the other question, the kinship care, do they comment on your kinship care program? Because I know nationally that has had some light shown on it because not everybody has enough, and I'm looking at resources again, enough resources to work with the kinship program. You got money now, that helps.
Right.
But having somebody within this agency makes a big difference.
It does. I think kinship is fundamentally the right word, and I think the federal government recognizes that and supports it as a process to practice kinship, keeping children with families, and trying to streamline the approach to get them to be foster parents. You can make a kinship foster parent much easier than a regular foster parent. They want that and support that. And so I think that's I can't recall specifically in the SIFs where they talk about it, but generally
well, they talk about very much, it must be okay.
Yeah, well, generally the Children's Bureau is very, very positive about kinship and keeping children with families. Yes, sir.
Those answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a couple questions.
That's right.
I'm a newbie. Leslie.
Hey, Leslie, I thought you
Sure
were right.
details, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
On the kinship topic, is it appropriate for us as a board to ask for sort of at another future board meeting, more comprehensive overview of how you guys are handling kinship, since it is so pivotal right now in the shift of the system, keeping kids with their existing family?
Certainly. Yeah.
Like how do they get the supports they need, and are there enough supports for those placements to be as stable as they need to be?
Certainly. I think we can do that.
And then you talked about the law enforcement meet and greets, and it sounds like those were very successful. Did you have a specific goal, and how do you measure success when you go out and meet with those law enforcement folks?
Well, I think it's just a basic.
Is it just
down.
awareness
Right.
building?
Exactly. It's a basic. I mean, we certainly want to build on it, but I think we're working. All of us are working busy, moving around. How do you just take a minute and sit down and break bread together and talk and face to face? And so I think you accomplish that goal. Just talk and understand, and maybe maybe one law enforcement department's having an issue. Who do I contact when I have this problem? Or who do and just work out. So each one's different.
So it's
different
relationship building.
Right, exactly. Very well said.
And then I'm continually going to have questions about post-adoption support services. That's just going to keep coming up.
We'll get you answers. We'll get you answers.
And I'll also have I happen to be on the board of another organization that does some excellent work in that area. So I'll just kind of stick a pin in the fact that it's great that adoptions are happening. It's also frightening that adoptions are happening if the families are not prepared for the storm that will eventually show up in their home. And so, I think we've got to be a little bit more proactive now that we know all that's out there and all that can happen, so that we can taper the disruptions of adoptions and placements at the same time.
Well, I think you've given us some topics going forward, kinship care, and I think post-adoption support service, which I think the regional team's trying to do. We can make that a future topic too.
Great. Okay.
let me interrupt just a minute, but to talking about that subject, I don't know what the relationship of the education community is with defects and with that community is like, but it used to be just hell on earth to get a lot of school systems to do the things that were necessary for it. So if you got a foster parent, kinship care, adopted family, and they're having to deal with a school system without a lot of supports, it can be terrible. So if you would include that in whatever you put together, because I'd like to, I hope that it's better, but I work with an organization very informally that sues systems all the time for their failures. Not your systems, the education system.
Right, yes, sir. Yeah, I do that. My mother's a retired school teacher, so I certainly I value education and understand it and see some of the challenges that they have, right?
I don't think it's the educators, it's problems of bureaucrats.
Right. That's a great point. We'll bring that up in future meetings. Great topics. Because that was not me, as great as adoption is, a dissolution is awful. I mean, it's just two extremes of the best and the worst, right? So we certainly want that to happen. So again, we recognize that, but I think we can share more about what we're doing and maybe learn more when it's possible too. So
I called one of my parents last week from 25 or 30 years ago to see how they were doing. So, you do think about these.
right. Yes, sir.
And we also had one question in the chat. Jeff asked when the PIP will be available to the board.
I think it would be, we could submit it on the 18th. It'd probably be the spring, once it's approved. It's a back and forth process, so it's not a clean, hey, it may be negotiated. So probably in the spring of next year, we should have it right. Thank you. Again, thank you for your time. Looking forward to working with you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And at this time, we will hear from Deputy Commissioner John Coleman.
Morning.
Good morning.
As she introduced me, I'm John Hallman. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Office of Family Independence. For the newbies here in person and virtually,
Scary newbies.
the Office of Family Independence does eligibility for government programs is a big part of our mission. And so Medicaid, SNAP, TANF, energy assistance programs, a couple more things is kind of what we focus on. And we're in the middle of very big operations, so my whole presentation is going to be focused towards Hurricane Helene relief efforts. So not sure about the level of awareness, but DFCS is definitely one of the first responders in times of disaster. So not just OFI, but also child welfare workers will actually man shelters before and right after a storm happens. So me and Lon both had a lot of folks engaged in that effort. But what I'd like to talk about today is kind of the longer term recovery efforts that happen through the SNAP program. And so it's a big effort. Immediately after a storm, there's a lot of folks that come in for a response, but the disaster SNAP program is actually a longer term recovery effort that's led by my office. I think we may have lost the presentation, but I have it up here on my computer too. And so I can kind of walk us through what we're going to go through today. So there are
So for those members that are on Zoom, we're having some technical difficulties. So if you would give us about 2 to 3 minutes. So this is a good time for a snack break if anyone needs to take a snack break. And for those present, we also have, there are, we have Chick-fil-A trays or platters as well as
No, it's just budget management. We got too many lawyers. I still think about 40% of all the lawyers out there. It's because we don't have the same attitude about what we do anymore.
Okay,
Yeah,
everybody,
I don't-
so I think we are back up and running. So we can continue with our Deputy Commissioner Hallman's report.
Thank you. If you don't mind going back one slide, Emily.
This one?
Yeah, this one's fine. So through the FNS, which is our federal partner in the SNAP program, there are a number of waivers that we can apply, or a number of things that we can do to help folks in the wake of a disaster. And so those are usually called waivers that we apply for, and then the federal government approves for us to kind of make the program more flexible to allow us to serve customers in these difficult times. So the first option that's available to all of our current clients. So there will be I'll distinguish between current clients and not current clients. And when I'm talking about that, I mean the people who are in the SNAP program already receiving benefits to purchase food. So our existing clients, if whenever anything happens, this doesn't have to be a major hurricane, it could be any kind of event that happens. If they lose power for 4+ hours, they can request a replacement of benefits. So, your fridge doesn't have power for a couple hours, the food you bought with your benefits spoiled. So they can request a replacement of that. So that's available to anyone at any time. If a county, like over 50% of the county is without power for an extended period of time, they don't have to provide proof. But if not, they just provide proof that they lost power. And we have these power map things we can use to kind of approve large amounts of folks. So they can request up to 100% replacement of their allotment for a specific month in which the disaster happens. So we got a ton of those applications immediately. There's a 10-day period that they can apply. And we actually asked for an extension of that 10-day period to make it up to 30 days, I believe, so that they would have more time to request a replacement of lost benefits. So those are the first two items that you see here. Also, when a disaster of this size happens in a state, we can request from the federal government a mass replacement of benefits. So instead of individuals having to submit these applications, we just go ahead and replace their benefits. So we did. All three of those things were happening immediately after the hurricane happened, and we did get approval from the federal government to replace 75% of the benefits of all of the folks in the affected counties. So I believe that ended up being 57 counties is what I have here. Those numbers kind of, as the GMA and FEMA do their work and do assessments, we're able to extend out additional counties to add to that group of folks. But those are some big things that happened immediately after the hurricane happened. We also, with SNAP benefits, you're not normally allowed to buy prepared foods. And so there's a waiver option that we did apply for to let folks buy hot food. So if you can't, you still don't have power's out for an extended period of time, you can't take the food you purchase in the store back home and prepare the food. So there is an option for a hot food waiver, which we did apply for and was granted. And that's going to run through the 23rd of this month is that waiver. So those things happened immediately following the storm. One thing we also applied for is the extension of certifications, waiver of periodic reports, and we also reopened some cases, and I'll get into that. So the hurricane obviously happened at the end of September, and so we were concerned that some folks may not have had the opportunity to complete their program renewal that was due at the end of September. So anybody who closed for failure to renew, we're reopening their cases and giving them another chance further down the road to, we're spreading them out kind of in the next 6 months, but chance to renew when they're not, dealing with, recovering from the storm. We also were granted the ability for all of the October and November renewals. We're able to push those out a couple months. So that was done at a statewide level, not just the affected counties, but pushing out all the renewals that were due in October and November, again, over the next 6 months to kind of give folks time to deal with that instead of having to think about renewing their SNAP benefits. And we, at this, SNAP approvals are for a full year now. We switched to an extended certification period model, but at the midpoint of that certification period, we have to do what's called a periodic report, which is, has anything changed in your household, yes or no, kind of situation. And we were allowed to waive those for October, November from the feds too. And so this is to help the clients, but it's also to help us, because that's a huge workload that has been able to be lifted off of our workforce to help with another effort that I'm going to go into next. So the final waiver that I want to talk about today is it's called Disaster Snap, DSNAP, is what we call it. So I have a million acronyms. You'll get used to it, I think, hopefully. But Disaster Snap is a program that we're operating right now, and that is very similar to the SNAP program, but it only provides 1 month's worth of benefits to a family outside of our existing clients. That's the majority of the program. What we do is we will open an eligibility period for 6 days for folks in the affected counties to come in and apply for DSNAP and get, they're counting it as the month of October benefits, but 1 month of benefits to kind of help them through that process. And so our existing clients also will get supplements. So you don't just get SNAP or you don't get SNAP. It's kind of a scale based on your income and resources and things like that. So existing clients get the maximum allotment. So the most amount of money we can give to our current clients will be given out to them. And then we'll have this additional Disaster SNAP benefit available to kind of anybody in the affected county to apply for and get. And so that's what we're doing right now. It's we're doing it in 4 phases because it affected so many counties. There's 55 counties that we're running a DSNAP operation in. Eligibility for that is based upon a presidential declaration of a disaster and some other things that we use to make sure that it was really the areas that were impacted the most by the storm. And folks were kind of, it's the way that it's thought of is longer term support for areas where the damage from the storm will kind of impact people's livelihoods for a long period of time. And so that ended up being 55 counties in Georgia, which is a third of the counties, over a third of the counties in the state. And so it's a huge effort. We estimate, we just kind of have to use based on census information that there are somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 people that may be eligible for Disaster SNAP, which is unprecedented. Like historic is not an overstatement of the size of the effort that we're undertaking right now. We did a Disaster SNAP operation in the wake of Hurricane Michael, and that was about 20 something counties, I think. So this is, over double the size of that. So we've broken it up into 4 phases, and each phase is 6 days long. On the next slide, you'll see information about kind of the first phase. So the first phase we did, we try to do, and we work very closely with FNF on how to plan this out. And you actually don't want to go to the hardest hit place first. And that would sound very counterintuitive. A lot of my partners who work in emergency response were very confused about our plan. But this is a longer term thing. Folks need to have, like grocery stores need to have supplies and power, and people in their homes need to be able to take the food home and keep it for a long period of time. This is hopefully supplying them with enough the resources to buy food for a month and sustain after that emergency relief has left. So we started in the Chatham County or the Savannah area. So we had 3 Disaster SNAP locations in that area. We had one at the Civic Center in Savannah. We had one at Georgia Southern University, the Armstrong campus that they have. And then we had one in Hinesville, which is in Liberty County, a church in that county. They very graciously let us use their facilities, those 3 locations. And so that was from October 21st through October 26th, the 6-day period, Monday through Saturday. We were able to serve 33,000 households, which is 75,000 people just in those 5 counties. And that was $18 million worth of benefits that we were able to push out. So just again, to talk about the scale of this, it took about, we had about 700 workers, a combination of OFI and child welfare very graciously provided us with, I think, around 2,200 folks from child welfare, child support, and aging also from outside of DFCS, but within DHS, provided some volunteers too to help us. But a very, very big operation. And then we had a virtual option too, so folks can call in and get interviewed over the phone. We have like an online portal where they can apply. And we saw about 50-50 split between in-person and virtual support. But, you know, that was a pretty, that was our first phase. So we learned a lot in phase one. We're able to take those lessons learned into phase two. Phase two is on the next slide. That was in kind of more of the South Georgia region, the Valdosta. So we had 4 locations, one in Camden County, Lowndes County, Colquitt, and Coffee. So, you know, Camden County was a church. And the dates for this one were October 29th through November 4th. And that may be a little confusing about why that's more than 6 days, but we didn't operate on Sundays on purpose because we put 2 days between the phases, and then we didn't operate on Sundays because a lot of the locations we were using were churches. As you can see here, the Camden County location, that was at the Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church in Woodbine. Woodbine is a city in Camden County, which is just outside of St. Mary's or Brunswick, a little further inland. But a very nice church let us use their excellent gym to see folks, and you know, between 1,000 and 2,000 people come through households, so sometimes more than one person come through per day. So it's like finding someone that will agree to let us do that has been probably the hardest part of Snap. Well, you know, getting all the folks there and doing it's pretty hard too. But you know, they graciously let us use our location, the Coffee County, which is you know, the city of Douglas. We had Young Chapel Missionary Baptist Church let us use their facility. In Valdosta, Victory Baptist Church was another church that let us use their location. In Colquitt County, we actually used the Sunbelt Agricultural Expo Center. So that was an interesting location, I would say, with unique challenges as well, but a lot of space, and we need a lot of space. As you can see, there's just so many people coming through and, you know, needing to do a face-to-face interview and get issued an EBT card on site. There's a lot that goes into that. So it's been a pretty big operation. Those are the first 2 phases. So phase 2, some numbers. In phase 2, we were able to serve 46,879 households, which is 111,000 people. And that was $29 million worth of benefits we're able to bring back to the community through that phase. So currently we are in the middle of phase 2. We're not able to operate on election day because of our federal rules of our federal partners. We're also not allowed to operate on federal holidays, which Veterans Day was yesterday. And so this phase is kind of split in half. We did Thursday, Friday, Saturday of last week, and then today, tomorrow, and Thursday will be the second half of the phase 3 counties. This is going to be centered around the Augusta area. So we have 2 locations in Richmond County. One of them is the Southside Elementary School. It's an old school that we were able to secure. And another one is, it's off Wheeler Road. I don't know if you're familiar with, it's kind of near where 20 and 520 intersect. Both of those in Richmond County. We tried to find one in Columbia County, but the Wheeler Road location is outside of the city a little bit, and the elementary school is, you know, in the middle of Augusta. And then we have another location in Sandersville, which is Washington County. The bottom, you see the map there. It's the bottom left portion of that. So that's going to run through this Thursday. So far we've already seen in phase 3, we've seen 22,000 households. 47,000 people and $12 million pushed out. And I think I'm not 100% sure I have all of the data from Saturday in there. So I think that's a little less than half of what we'll see in phase 3. Question?
So,
Yeah.
Deputy Commissioner Holman, and I hate to interrupt in your presentation, but you had previously said that with going through these and the various phases, one would generally think you would start with the worst hit, but instead you all started with those that were not quite as impacted as such. And I just wanted for clarification. So that doesn't mean that you all did not, because I think you indicated that you're now phase 3 is in progress, which has the the Richmond County, which is Augusta, which was hit. So would you just take a moment to kind of explain why that is?
Sure.
So it'll be clear for everyone.
Sure. Yeah. So we knew we were going to have to break it up into phases because just to support that number of people or that big of an operation, we don't have the workforce to do all of it all at the same time. So we started looking at how many phases would make sense, and based upon the estimated number of people that were eligible, how many people can we serve at once? And we had to find these locations and do all the logistics, like finding hotels has been the second hardest part of running a DSNAP operation. Currently, when we get to phase 4, the rural areas especially, it's hard to find hotels in South Georgia. But the way we kind of planned it out and picked, what order things would happen in, it was based upon kind of the recovery we were seeing. And we're having to do this, with imperfect information. But again, the power map I mentioned earlier was very useful to kind of track recovery. And so, the Savannah area had a lot of flooding, but they didn't have as much damage really to infrastructure. So we saw them recovering the fastest. And we said, we'll start in the Savannah area. And then the Valdosta area, South Georgia, looked like they were kind of recovering kind of second fastest. And then Augusta, was probably the hardest hit place in the state, I would say. I mean, I definitely saw a lot of damage in South Georgia too, but Augusta was pretty bad. So we put them third, and then between the two is where phase 4 will be, kind of the area. It's going to be, we're have locations in Lawrence, Toombs, and Candler County. And that area, a lot of it is served by a power company that's a co-op. I forgot the acronym. EMC. And so we were seeing we were hearing they were going to struggle for maybe, longer before they had power back. And, a big piece of this, you saw all those people sitting at the internet has to exist for any of this to work. And that's actually been a really big challenge in the Washington County location was connectivity.
North Carolina, really bad.
Yeah, getting back, just having, places for people to stay, power for, us to operate and for the clients to store the food, like I was talking about earlier, and grocery store. Grocery stores actually came back pretty faster than I thought they could, which is, we have a pretty good relationship with the Realtors Association, or the Grocers Association. There's an association that we're very closely connected. I'm like best friends with the person who runs that now, I feel like, but the power and internet and self-service, even, I can, turn the internet on my phone and work from anywhere, but not if the cell towers have been damaged too. So in Washington County, we had to put a thing, the fire department put a thing on top of the building, and we had all these boosters and stuff. So it's really, even now, still kind of a challenge in some of these locations, just to have, air conditioning buildings that were, one of the buildings we were looking at in Statesboro, we were trying to find a location in Statesboro. The last place we couldn't use because it was damaged. So finding all those things, polling places took a lot of the good DSNAP locations too. So having to, early voting was happening, and election day happened in the middle of this too. So there are a lot of challenges logistically and just with, the areas being recovered enough. That was kind of how we made our plan. Was to try to get to the areas, it was good to kind of be able to learn from phase 1 and bring those lessons learned when we moved into the more challenging situations we're in now, or we saw in phase 2 and we're now dealing with in phase 3. So that was the kind of logic behind it.
Can I layer in one other question on that same topic, which is how did you communicate to these second, third, and fourth phase communities that we're not there yet, but we're coming? How do you even get the word out effectively to those people so that they don't feel left alone? And I'm making an assumption that charitable organizations have stood in the gap largely while those communities wait for you to actually get there. Is that true?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks. So I was saying, the immediately after the storm, there's a lot of folks that come in and
got Red Cross, Salvation Army.
Right. And we do Red Cross is who we partner with, the staff of shelters. And so, a lot of them have food programs too that happen. And there was a lot of that happening. We work very close with GMA and FEMA too, to kind of push out a lot of our messaging.
Okay, so they educate the people that there's more coming, and it's on a timeline.
And our we have community partners too that help with the normal staff program that we can engage to help us, get folks to, spread awareness and things like that. Our communications team, we've been doing press releases to kind of talk about, what counties are eligible. And interesting, you're all Georgians, so, there are a lot of counties who, like Washington County is a place, and there's a city of Washington as well, which is not in the county of Washington. It's in Wilkes County, which is not a DSNAP county. So that's something we're dealing with right now, is like a lot of people from the city of Washington that want to apply for DSNAP but aren't eligible because Wilkes County is not in our DSNAP operation. And so it has been very challenging. And, right now, South Carolina is also running a disaster SNAP program, and their operation is opening in Aiken County, which is just across the river from Richmond County in Augusta. So I'm sure that has been a fun thing for people this morning, operating in, because the news, we saw in the news, they're talking about them at the same time. So hopefully South Carolina residents are going to wherever Aiken County is doing their operation, not coming to our, the Southside Elementary School. But I'm sure, like we put out messaging last night that was like, someone go out there and work the line and tell people, do you live in Georgia? Like, show me your driver's license. No, not that, but like, because folks, it's easy to get, especially I'm really worried about Augusta, since it does straddle that line. And, communication has definitely been a challenge, but we have a lot of resources that are helping amplify our message and stuff like that. So media has been on site, I think, every phase. We had some folks come last week, and I expect we'll have some more this week to cover it. But I've seen a lot of people picking up our press releases and helping spread the word and clarifying, what counties are eligible. And, with the phone line too, it's challenging because anybody can call from anywhere. So we've set up a system where people get triaged before we get them to an interviewer, to make sure people understand from an education perspective. That's a good question, because it has been, that's probably number 3 on the list after locations, hotels, and then, communicating what's happening, because it is complicated, the phased approach, but kind of our only option based on the scale. So sorry, I'm spending a lot of time on this, and we can, phase 4 will be kind of the area between phase 2 and phase 3 in a more rural area, but we are going to have locations, which we just got the last one confirmed, I believe, on Saturday. So we were trying to find somewhere in Statesboro, but we ended up going with the Armory, National Guard Armory in Metter is going to let us use their building. So in phase 4, we're going to be using the Dublin fairgrounds in Dublin. We're going to be using the National Guard Armory in Candler County, and then Toombs County, there's a church, Lions Community Church. So those will be happening next week. Monday through Saturday will be the 6-day span. So finishing up phase 3 this week, I'll be in Augusta tomorrow. I think Emma invited folks if they wanted to come check it out. I think it's hard for me sometimes to explain like the work that OFI does because of the scope. So we talk about 500,000 of something, that's like a number that people, when you see 1,000 people in a room, though, you're like, wow, this is a lot of people. So it's really been a massive operation, and the staff I've only heard positive things from both my staff and lawn staff. Just, I think it's going to be very good benefit in the long term. The amount of resources we've been able to make available to the community in time of need is really amazing. And the connections between child welfare and OFI and child support have just been great to get people, again, like the meet and greets with law enforcement, working closely with people is what creates bonds within the agency, and we have to talk to each other a lot. And so I think long term, it'll be a really good thing. Short term, obviously, a lot of work on top of a very big workload already. So moving out some of that renewal work has made we have a statewide renewal team, so it's made them available to work on this effort, but we've had to pull a lot of resources away from the other program work. So it'll have an impact for a while on the administration of the SNAP program specifically, and then the other TANF and Medicaid also share workforce. So it'll be a pretty big impact on us for quite some time. I canceled a lot of trainings, canceled a lot of everything for 2 months basically. the month of October and the month of and November will both be heavily impacted. And then, December is sometimes always, you kind of lose half of that month too. So we're going to do a lot of planning in December to try to mitigate, time lost in these 2 months. And we had a lot of employees just impacted by the hurricane. I remember the week following the hurricane, we still hadn't heard from like 200 people going into Monday to Tuesday of that week. So we lost a lot of folks for a long period of time because they lived in these areas and lost power too. So to summarize, a lot happening there with this SNAP. That's really going to be the big thing that's happened to us this quarter, and we'll probably feel the impacts of it for the next 6 months. I would assume impact on the program. So really big. It's been great though. There are a lot of challenges, but we have overcome a lot of them. I've been very, very happy with everybody involved. I think everyone who participates, no one wants to leave their family for 6 days, but I think a lot of the folks that have gone have actually found it really rewarding. The clients have been very happy that we're there to help them, and there are long lines. People have to wait hours sometimes to get through the whole thing. We'll show up and there'll be 400 people already lined up at 8 a.m. But we've been able to move through them pretty quickly. Great team working on this, and a lot of folks stepped up. So it's been very, very positive, I think. Super stressful for me, definitely, but and a lot of the folks at the leadership level, but it's been very, very good so far. So I'm feeling very confident now. We have our last location secured. Now we just need to execute what's becoming a pretty well-oiled machine or process.
Good job on pivoting to get the federal piece straightened out so that you didn't have to do that routine work while you're doing this extra credit work. And I'll just pray for your stamina, because it sounds like it's a marathon y'all are running. So
Has been a lot.
yeah.
But we're almost done. So
I have a question and comment. The comment would be, at our regional meeting, there were a handful of people who had participated through Child Welfare and OFI for Region 3, and they were saying how long the days were, but how rewarding they were. And so I would just say everybody that, it seemed like a bunch of people were participating and even missing the meeting because they were down there, but they all really were affirming how wonderful it was going and how rewarding it was, and what a great the whole thing was great. So yes, I'm hearing that too on the region level. This is maybe a silly question, but I'm curious about just real quick, a quick question about the numbers that you're giving people. So when they come in, their funding is dependent upon how many, it's not like everybody gets $750. It's
household composition.
Household, okay.
Yeah. So if there's one person in your family, it's $292.
Okay.
And then 2 people, it doesn't go up another $292. It's slightly less than that. So like for 2 people, it's $536, which is a little less than double that. So it's based upon how many people, like how many children you have, or how many people. We call it household composition, but it's like based upon how you prepare food, basically. Yeah. And we have a nice chart. We can send you the link to our DSNAP site that has all the information on it, but it's basically based upon number.
And you may have said this, but I might have missed it. People who are in DSNAP, what have they been doing for the last?
Oh yeah, I mean, hopefully, I bet by a lot of you see relief effort.
Okay.
So I think they're,
Is it kind of like hold on to be there?
Yeah.
Are people being received anything to get returned?
We don't. It doesn't. We can't really go do like that. But hopefully, making it. It is a longer term thing, Sure. And a lot of folks that are going to be in, that are lower income folks are better served by the traditional SNAP program rather than the DSNAP program. And we've seen a lot of that too, where I think we'll get a lot more applications now once they see the benefits available. And unfortunately, some people have lost their livelihood and will qualify for the traditional program too. So, there has been a lot of community support, and, GMA, FEMA doing a lot of good things that help folks too. Just wait for us to get there next week, I think.
One other things, the media helping awareness when this stuff is happening is great, but yeah, y'all might think about is after this is over with, literally engaging the media in the state to explain to people how this works when it happens, because it will happen again. If you get ahead of missed expectations, anytime. Southwest is a successful airline for all these years because they set really clear expectations. Keep people on track with the expectations, even though the service level is pretty low. Your service level is low, but the timing of it can be confusing for people. So if you guys get how to use your communication strategy a little bit more proactively and periodically, since we're going to keep having hurricanes come up out of the ocean or other kinds of tornado disasters or whatever. And it's just a thought.
That's a good idea. You know, we have to do, FNS requires us to do a disaster plan, like updated every year. And so it'd be good to, and I've been thinking about these things too. Next year, you know, we've saved a bunch of lessons and that I actually have. We're building a list.
Yeah.
John Hallman to use, but I think engaging our community partners to help us with that too is like the same time decent. We've got to talk to folks about it. I think one thing, trying to find locations in advance, you know, because we do have emergency plans that do have locations, you know, but knowing that some of those were destroyed or damaged, you know, was challenging for us, or not big enough for the type of volume we were talking about. So,
Yeah.
To piggyback on that, I think one of the things that has bothered me about a lot of programs, and DFCS always had this problem, and it's exacerbated by the fact that we're a secret aid, we can't tell you everything we do. I know that ain't true, but you know, it's kind of the way, I don't know what those people do over there, but I was just thinking back to when Senator Ossoff had some of his hearings, and whether he was right or wrong, I really didn't focus on. But I think the fact that you don't an ability to react to, and you did this time, you worked, you can't respond to other disasters. And if the Congress starts looking at you or the United Nations or whoever it might be, you don't have a system or a structure to deal with that. And it sounds like to me you've got that structure kind of woven into what you do now. And so it's just a great idea to continue that so that you don't get hit by the proverbial 8-ball all the time.
Well, that's a good point. We've really, I think we lost a lot of community ties through COVID, you know, losing those personal touches. And again, I think this is actually, you know, obviously a terrible thing that's happened, but has allowed us to reconnect with a lot of people who have reached out to help, and we've reached out to, you know, find locations and volunteers. The support that goes into a lot of this it's been a good rebuilding kind of piece.
Well, we were just really trying to add something else to your plate.
Sure, no, but that's, you know, holding on, like the things you can capture from it, more than just a list of best practices, you can capture the connections and the
I think they're
awareness
so
and things
important.
like that too. Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that was kind of the end of the presentation, because that's going to be the main focus. But if y'all have new topics for next time that you're interested in, like you have for Mr. Roberts, happy to do those in the next presentation too.
You may just need to take a deep breath for a while.
I'm going to take a couple days off, you know, for Thanksgiving and the holidays, but we're definitely going to have a lot. I mean, to deal with after this too, you know, just catching up on this, it's like 40% of my workforce, you know, in the field, not doing their normal job. So a lot of the people who are still in the office have been doing a great job keeping things moving with a depleted staff, and you know, the rest of the work, the renewals didn't go away. They just were shifted out 4 to 6 months. So we have a big task ahead of us in the new year.
Well, thank you, Deputy Commissioner Hallman. And does anyone have any additional questions? Anyone on Zoom have any questions for Deputy Commissioner Hallman? Okay, seeing that. Go ahead.
This is Belinda Davis from Region 4. Will phase 4 be the last phase of the DSNAP, or are you anticipating more?
Yes, ma'am. Phase 4 is the end.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you, Deputy Commissioner Hallman. And now at this time, we will take a break for our committee meetings. We're gonna need about 10 minutes to have set everything up for our breakout meetings. Once again, Jennifer and myself have provided light snacks for you all. So for those of you all are here, if you would like some Chick-fil-A and sweet tea, lemonade, and fruit, there is, and cupcakes, there is some while we set up everything. And I will outline everyone who's on the various committees, so you all will have that. In addition, if you have any problems logging in, for those of you who are on virtually, please reach out to Emma and Emily as soon as possible. And when we return, we'll return back for the full meeting in 30 minutes. So please be prepared to have someone, either yourself or a representative, summarize the activities for your region. And as to our various committees and our new members, the committees that you are currently assigned to, with our child welfare and regional trends, that's Meredith, Jeff, Allie, Lacey, John, and Leslie. OFI, that's myself, Shandina, Fran, Belva, Anna, Pam, and Belinda. And our community relations and hiring, that's Randall, Janice, Jennifer, and Travis. So we're gonna take a 10-minute break so we can set everything up for those of you who are on Zoom. And so is 11:12 now, we might as well say 11:15. So from at 11:25, be prepared to join your various Zoom committee. And then after that, we will come back for our committee reports, and that will conclude everything. So see you all shortly.
Where are we meeting?
The judge, when I was talking about
That's right. We know who's really running it.
Hey, I think what happened. And
Right.
In a box.
Yeah.
And so nothing gets changed and nothing gets done, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I would fire some.
No, I don't.
Them, it's not
Yeah.
fair, not at all. I'm just saying structure. PhDs.
Okay, so everyone, at this point in time, we are going to go ahead and start with our committee reports and then our regional reports. So do we have anyone to give a brief report from the Child Welfare and Regional Trends?
Leslie Reese, I'll do that on behalf of our committee. The committee has one major focus right now that we're going to continue to flesh out with the help of Emma, which is to begin to unpack and understand what the county level and regional level board structures are and how they relate to the state advisory board and how they are either similar among themselves or differ, And then to also work on a communication strategy to allow more information to flow freely up and down that chain of boards.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And for OFI?
Yes, Anna Bearden on behalf of our committee. We talked briefly about, we had a pretty comprehensive report from Deputy Commissioner just before our meeting. So looking at meeting in January to follow up once phase 4 is complete, and hopefully to hear from Laura Beggs to talk a little bit about how that process went, how we as a committee could be helpful going forward.
Thank you. And community relations and hiring?
Hi, this is Janice Van Ness, and we talked about two key things. The first one would be retention of current employees. It was reported that in 2023 and 2024, that they had a surge in hires, and that that was a very positive for the department, but that they really are going to be focusing on retention. And the second thing we talked about was just more awareness for community relations for each of the communities throughout the state of Georgia, that we will focus on getting better delivery and knowledge about the work that's being done in the communities. So those are our two focus areas, and I will also try and reach out to the marketing department so we can just connect with them and see how we might be able to interact and support the efforts.
Thank you. And now we will move forward with our regional reports. Region 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Pam Clayton. I don't have a formal report. Just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. Appreciate the great work that was outlined before in the Deputy Commissioner's reports. And I'm looking forward to working with each of you. Really wanted to be there in person today and apologize that my travels didn't permit that. A large part of my professional life has been spent working with the age, blind, and disabled population. So look forward to working with OFI, the committee, and looking at how we may focus in those areas. But grateful again for the opportunity to be here today, and look forward to meeting each of you personally at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Pam, and we're glad to have you with us. Region 2. I believe Fran indicated that she had to leave early, but I thought she passed her report. So we'll come back. Region 3.
I've got that. This is Randall Hambrick. We had a meeting just this past week. It was really great. We have several counties that have brand new judges and all new staff. So
I'm glad to hear that.
That was interesting. And one county specifically talked about how fantastic their judge has been, and they've really enjoyed working with the new person. I also love hearing all they're doing for encouraging employees. I feel like the region takes time on our meetings to talk about different things they're doing to encourage employees and keep the morale high. Everything from Halloween costume contests to, Thanksgiving meals or Christmas potlucks, things like that. That's nice. We're starting a regional kinship unit, and so they're working with several different areas, several different regions to try to put kind of a template in place for that. And they're looking to start with 2 people, and they're hoping that starts the beginning of the year. I would say a challenge, I mentioned a little bit earlier, but one of the things I heard from people was the Clark Howard program is actually a challenge because it's, quote, too last minute. So it was a little challenging for people to get the gifts and have them out in 10 days. So most of our counties are looking for other ways to provide Christmas. We actually have one county Paulding's now including family preservation this year for the first time. So they're looking to serve all of family pres along with the rest of their crowd. I think that's maybe it.
Okay. And region 4. Okay, Region
Okay, I was
5?
trying to get off. I'm sorry, I was trying to get off mute. This is Belinda Davis. I don't have an official report, but I am glad to join you all. I'm looking forward to serving.
Okay, thank you, and we're glad to have you, Belinda. Region 5?
That's me, Anna Bearden. Just a few things. So we're celebrating 10 years of Home in 5, which has just been a forum for a public-private partnership with agencies and resources, DHS, DFCS in the community. So that was excitingly held. There was a stakeholder meeting last week. A couple of things, a highlight we heard from family treatment courts. And one of the highlights from that, which I just thought since its inception, there have been 2 graduates from family treatment court who have not received custody of their children. And that statistic was a real highlight, I think, just for all of that family treatment court has been doing in the community. We're currently working on, actually in 2025, Home in 5 is also going to start offering quarterly CPS, DFCS staff trainings, which is a new resource. And then next week, we're working together to help with emergency placements and find better solutions for emergency placements. And so there's a town hall meeting next week to address some of those challenges and for everyone to kind of have a voice.
In Region 8? Region 9?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Belva Dorsey Mott representing Region 8. And so I'll just highlight that in the region, they are focusing on Adoption Awareness Month activities. And during our last regional advisory meeting, they did highlight a lot of the partnerships, community partnerships that exist in our region. And the last thing that I will say is this is my final meeting as a member of the State Advisory Board. And so it has been my pleasure and honor to serve as your former, chair and as a representative for Region 8. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Belva, and thank you for your service, and we will miss you. But still, continue to be a part of us and with us, and so hopefully we can still get together soon. So thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
Region 9.
I'm Travis Dillard with Region 9. My region's been working hard on recruiting foster parents. Our region has held in-person foster parent training and actually had 7 families participate in that recently. And we're still continuing with the virtual option of training foster parents. Basically, since the storm, everything has gone toward DSNAP. And so every day-to-day operations are basically at a minimum to focus on DSNAP. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Region 10? Region 11? Region 12? Region 13? I don't think. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do Region 13. Mayor Nicole, Region 13. We now have a new regional director, Travis Moses, and he is fantastic. Very much an outside the box thinker. Comes up with fantastic ideas, and so I'm looking forward to seeing all the things that he has to do to help Region 13. Similar to Belva, this is my last meeting. I'll be rolling off the board. I have served as secretary twice on 2 different occasions and currently as the vice chair. So one of the original members of the State Advisory Board. And I just want to encourage everybody to do a lot of work in the committees. You'll find that the committees is where the work needs to be done to come up with recommendations. So wishing you all good luck, and I'm excited to see how things shape up for everybody.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your service, Meredith. And we are gonna truly, truly miss you and Belva, and, thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see, Region 14, Shandina Morris, would like to extend an invitation for everyone, if you can. As it has been stated, that November is National Adoption Month, specifically in DeKalb and Fulton counties for Friday, November 22nd. At 1 p.m., we're having a big national adoption ceremony and service. So all of the children, we are having those ceremonies for that Friday, in which there are 5 of us in terms of Superior Court judges that will be presiding over the adoptions. And then that Saturday, November 23rd, Fulton County will have their National Adoption Month ceremony and service, in which they will do the same. And Travis, I will be coordinating with you probably in the new year to find out more about the adoption training. So that's something that we can implement in DeKalb County. So I will connect with you on that. And so those are my updates. At large, Janice?
I don't have a report.
Okay.
All is well.
Let's see, at large, member Jennifer?
I don't have a report per se, but I will comment that I think in the coming year, we can redefine and maybe define better what at-large members can contribute to the regional report, since we don't want to copy information that's already been given by each region. And then I'll just piggyback off of what we were talking about with celebrating adoptions, and how we can bolster that into our communities. My family, we're an adopted family. We have 2 children that out of our 5 that we've adopted. And this weekend, we have celebrated the last almost 8 years, our adoption day, and we call it Shinpo Day.
Oh.
And so that's this weekend, and we celebrate the adoption of our 2 kids, but we call it Shinpo Day because it's the completion of our family. And so it's fun. Our kids like to talk about it, and they anticipate it every year. So it's a way we celebrate and share with others.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations. Let's see, at large member Jeff? Jeff's still on? Okay, at large member Judge, do you have anything in the report?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say that DFCS continues to improve over the years, and having been here to listen to some of the reports today, I am encouraged that the structural part that is necessary with any agency is being worked on. May not be perfect yet, but it's being worked on. And the fact that we have gone to committees to do more of the work is what I hoped we'd see when I started on this board. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And at large member Leslie, our new member.
I don't have a specific report that relates to any one area right now, but I will say that because of the most recent job that I retired from in March, I have the blessing of connections and relationships with organizations all over this country that are doing leading edge work and in this state. And so my hope is that by becoming involved in this, I'm going to be able to both help make connections for those organizations and help strengthen this system through those kinds of activities. So,
well, thank you, and we're glad to have you.
Thanks.
So at this time, we are going to move forward to our executive committee vote, and I do believe that we still have quorum. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I will tell everyone, please state your name when making or seconding a motion so it can be included in the minutes. And in reference to that, we are going to go forward with our election of officers. So Let's see. The nominee statements of qualification for the executive committee has been distributed to the board, and the slate is as follows. So Jennifer Shimpo as our chair, Alan Christensen as our vice chair, and Anna Bearden as secretary. So the slate is open for further discussion. Is there any discussion at this time? Okay, hearing none, if there's no discussion, we will proceed to vote. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Okay, what's your motion?
Oh, to go ahead and vote on the slate as it's stated.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second Travis Newland, Region 9.
Okay, so the motion to vote on the slate as named has properly been motioned and seconded that the Division of Family and Children Services advisory vote on the executive committee officer slates Jennifer Shimpo as chair, Alan Christensen as vice chair, and Anna Bearden as secretary. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, so hearing none, at this point in time, we would like to congratulate our new officers for 2025. Woo! And wait for you. So I have just a few brief closing remarks, and I want to first start by saying or asking that we take a few moments for a moment of silence for the passing of the Department Chief of Staff, Craig Foster. So thank you all. This has been a wonderful year with our service. I think we were able to have a lot accomplished. We've been able to come back in person, and it's just been amazing with the celebration of excellence with our children that graduated and are excelling, as well as to all of the things that the department has been doing. And so, you know, we'd like to commend with the efforts from the recent hurricane disaster with SNAP. We're looking forward to our Clark's Christmas kids coming up. As I stated, National Adoption Month. And so we're just wonderful things to look forward to. I want to leave you all with this quote. Do all the good you can by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, to all the people you can, as long as you can. So with that, thank you all for your service, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.